Welcome to the Dad, Coffee, and Kids podcast, where caffeine-powered dads look to level up as fathers. We talk about life as a dad with young kids while managing work, family, and finances. That said, grab another cup, and I'll see you on the other side. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Dad, Coffee, and Kids. Today I really wanted to give an update as last night was night 3 of just me and my boys. My wife she'd been away for a conference, but actually comes home later this evening, and we've both taken turns solely watching the boys as one of us has had to leave for work over the last few years. But this time was a little different because of where the boys are right now in their development. It's always go, go, go. And if either of them starts to settle down and relax a little bit, the other one is sure to come over and quickly get them riled right back up almost immediately. So whether that's taking toys or provoking them or whatever it is. But needless to say, it's been constant chaos for a few months now. So this was, I was prepared for a very interesting 3 nights. But let me give a quick recap of how our time went and essentially how I managed it, right? And hopefully there's a few takeaways for you here if you ever find yourself in a situation where it's just you and your kids for multiple nights as well. So first and foremost, move the clocks forward. And what I mean by that is when it's just you. And for if there's any single dads out there, you know exactly what I'm talking about here. And it's that everything takes longer, right? So whether it's the daycare drop off and pickup, or if your kids are home with you all day, getting them lunch, getting them dinner, getting them in the bath, getting them to bed, transitioning from playtime to maybe you're going to go outside for a little bit or whatever the case is, everything takes longer. When it's just you. So be prepared for that. Start to move. As important as it is to stay on schedule, your normal schedule, try to move things up a little bit. Whether that's, again, getting dinner on the table earlier or already being prepared to go upstairs, get in the bath, and get down a little earlier for reading time or whatever your bedtime routine entails. Okay, so keep that in mind, that while it's extremely beneficial if you are able to start things a little earlier, even if it means getting out of work a little earlier or picking them up from daycare or school a little earlier, that would be super beneficial. But just know it's going to take longer. Okay, understanding that will set you up for a successful day, night, multiple nights, because you have that expectation, right? It's not like, okay, bedtime's 8 o'clock normally, and if you're doing everything scheduled as normal, that might get pushed back till 8:45 or 9, and you're kind of thrown out of whack. So just be prepared for that, and if possible, move things up as early and often as you can. Next, one of the next points that I found very helpful was to have dinner planned. Better yet, if possible, have dinner pre-made. If you're able to prep whatever it is you're eating in the morning or at some point during the day, if you're home. Obviously, if you're at work, you're not really able to. But let's say you're going to have pasta one night. Maybe you can cook it the night before when kids go to bed, and then you can just heat it up in the microwave the next day, or so be it. But I found that very helpful. I prepped pasta one night, and then we had some vegetables, and my boys love gyoza. So we had gyoza in the fridge, and we just popped those in the microwave with some rice, sat down and were able to eat it pretty quickly. So that was super helpful. Obviously, the easiest thing here to do would be to pick up food, take out or have food delivered. our household, we actually try to stay away from that as much as possible. Two reasons for it. First, the health benefit. We believe when we cook at home, it's healthier than almost anything we can get out. If we do order out, I think some variations of Chipotle is actually relatively healthy. So that's kind of our go-to if we ever needed a really quick meal. But it's kind of a last case scenario for us, or worst case scenario if we are going to order food. But if that's helpful to you, maybe that's a route that you explore. And then also just to save money. No matter what we cook at home, it's almost always cheaper than anything we can possibly order from a restaurant or just take out in general. So that's one of the other reasons why we eat in a lot, and we do a lot of cooking in our household. So, and it's good for the boys to try all different foods, and we think it's led to them being less picky of an eater. So that's been a benefit as well. But have dinner, regardless, have dinner planned, and if possible, try to have it pre-made so you can just pop it in the oven, pop it in the microwave, get them down to the table, and start eating. Hopefully, going back to the first point made, you're eating dinner a little earlier as well. That would be extremely beneficial. Next year, I found try to be inclusive as much as possible. I found this to be really a huge win by encouraging my other son to, quote unquote, help daddy with whatever it was we were doing. So, for example, and what I mean by be inclusive is when my youngest had to go, it was time to get changed, I could have easily left my older son downstairs playing and just minding his own business, and he would be fine with that. But I asked him, I was like, hey, bud, do you want to come upstairs? Daddy can use some help changing Oliver and picking out a new pair of clothes or socks or whatever it is, just to get him involved. And he loved it. And it created an environment where he was proud and happy and felt really heard and included, that I believe it led to him being a little more calm as the night went on, right? And vice versa as well. When my oldest had to use the potty, our bathroom's upstairs, so I would ask my youngest, I was like, hey bud, do you want to come upstairs with me, and we'll get our oldest on the potty, and you can help get the toys ready for the bath or whatever it was. And his face lit up with the biggest smile. Of course he wanted to help. So he came with us, and again created an environment where he felt included. He felt like he was constantly part of the team, and he was extremely happy for it. So that's another one that I would highly recommend as well, is when it's just you with them, try to include both kids as much as possible in whatever it is that you're doing. Okay. And also, I believe it helped from one of them to really start whining, right? Like if we're all playing and there was maybe my youngest had a blowout or he just really had to get changed, it eliminated the chance of my oldest son getting really upset because daddy and his brother were leaving. So next kind of point I tried to adopt as much as possible, and I highly recommend, is play as much as possible and don't forget snack time. So this one's kind of straightforward, but you might feel overwhelmed being just you, that there's a lot of stuff to do, right? On top of everything I'm talking about here, the house is also becoming a mess. You got to constantly clean the house and pick up after the kids. But really try to find time and play with your kids. It's going to get them tired. It's going to make them happy. And when you're playing with them, dedicate all your time to them, right? If you recall from a previous podcast episode, if you haven't listened to it, I highly recommend listening to it, where I talk about being extremely present and not being on social media or on your phones when you're with your kids. So go ahead and leave your phone in the other room and spend as much time playing with them, and they will cherish you for it, and they will reward you with a good experience for you for the night, right? It's not going to be miserable. again, they're going to be tired. They're going to be happy. It's going to lead for a little easier time, little bedtime routine that's upcoming. So highly recommend all the play. And of course, snack time. If things are starting to get out of hand or everyone's getting a little tired, feel free to break it up with a little snack. That's always a go-to win for us here. Now, another thing I try to keep as close to normal is stick to the same bedtime routine, okay? Even if you're moving times up a little bit, you can still stick to the same bedtime routine. Whether that's maybe you eat dinner, then you play, then you take a bath, then you read, then you go to bed. That's kind of what our routine is. Stick to it, okay? The first night when my wife was away, it was, I didn't do what I recommended here. Everything took a little longer and it was later than I had anticipated. We were way past their bath time at this point, and I was going to forego their bath. All right, I was going to ditch it that first night. And I start to get their PJs out, and my oldest is like, "Daddy, I want to take a bath." And I'm just like, ugh, because I had already had my mindset that we were going to skip baths tonight. I just assumed they would be happy to skip baths. But the reality of it was they were thrown out of their routine. They were thrown out of whack. And that led to even more chaos. So sure enough, they got their baths that night. And I learned to really try to stick to your routine. Okay? Even after the bath, we would go back downstairs or into our bed and we would read for a little bit, depending on how fired up they were. I also let them maybe play for like 5 minutes, get the last jitters out before bed, and then it was off to bed. So again, highly recommend sticking to your routines as if it was the two of you, okay? And lastly, enjoy every second of it. Enjoy every second with your kids. Cherish the time you have. Obviously, it's better when it's the family's together, right? You, your wife, your kids, your pets, whoever lives in your household. That's when it's the best. But really cherish this time. It's a great bonding experience when it's just you and your kids, and give them as much as you can. Okay? They will feel that. They will see it. And they will reward you for it, all right, in the terms of just the love that will pour out of them and make it all worthwhile, right? It was a great experience for me. Obviously I would prefer with my wife with us as well, but if she ever has to go away again, I'm confident we will have a great time and everything will be good, all right? So if you have any tips for managing or raising or making sure no one gets hurt or just having a good time with your kids while your wife is away, let us know. Share some of your tips. Everyone can learn from it. And if you like this podcast, feel free to subscribe and make sure to leave us a 5-star review. It really helps, especially on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And feel free to check us out on YouTube and Instagram. And the handle is Dad, Coffee, and Kids. All right, guys. I'll see everyone next time.